Just like that. Somehow we've made it through another week, and it's Monday. What is it? Monday the 17th of March. I was looking at something just now, and I get a weekly report, okay, on... Hi, everybody. I'm Russ Kane. This is the Midday Show. You know that. I got a weekly report. Daily average screen time. This is on my phone, right, which I think is steam-powered. 3 hours, 50 minutes. So I'm on this wretched thing per day last week, 10th to the 16th of March, right? 3 hours, 50 minutes. Unbelievable, right? Waze, which is because I'm doing a hell of a lot of driving at the moment, going to see all my clients as a celebrant, 5 hours, 31 minutes. But that's okay because that's telling me what to do. WhatsApp, where everyone's messaging me, 4 hours, 49 minutes last week. Just on WhatsApp, 4 hours, 49 minutes. And Facebook, which is a complete pain in the arse and waste of time, really, 4 hours, 32 minutes. But so many people think, well, we'll just message you on Facebook. Please don't. Please don't. You need to get hold of me, either phone me or send me an email. But I don't see everything on Facebook, and the algorithms are just insane. I've been thinking about this one. You would be crackers not to love our next guest. Our first guest of the week. Is she smiling? No, she's not smiling at all. She doesn't like this. Ladies and gentlemen, you liked her so much last time. I was thrilled when she came back. Please welcome Dr. Ritz is in the house.
Hi, Russ.
Oh, dear. That is a shocking internet connection. Ooh, that is bad. Sorry, it's like you're frozen. At all. That ain't good at all. Well, let's just say hello to Robert Van Buren. Hello, Russ. Do you want to reload? Because that's we can't continue like that. That's completely frozen. That's not good. That's not good at all. I'm going to take you off. You need to reload or reboot or something, but we can't go ahead. Yes, I'm coming on to you. You know him. You love him. I don't love him that much. I tolerate him. Neil Long.
I couldn't resist making an entrance. How are you?
It was lovely. It was charming. It was lovely. No, Dr. Ritz, who I'm really looking forward to seeing and everything and having a chat because she was such a hit last time. And her internet is pants. That's not good, is it? Not good at all. How are you? How was your weekend? What's going on?
Oh, really good. I did my first own comedy club gig with a partner in crime called Toby. We did our first comedy club, ran our own one, which was great. On Thursday.
I see what you mean. Okay. So how does that work? Explain.
Well, it's our club. It's our club.
So when you say it's our club, do you hire a space or what's the deal?
Well, we were given the space because we brought 50 plus people into the pub, so they're going to make some money on the bar.
So they say you're going to bring a lot of people into the pub. You can have this space. Is that how it works?
As Hannibal Lecter so eloquently said, quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo, Clarice.
Quid pro quo. So that went really well. I had a fun DJ gig on Friday, and Saturday I had a cheeky date. So yeah, it's very nice.
You had a cheeky date?
Yeah.
Jeez, you are putting it about, boy. You're spreading it thin. You're living it large.
Got a busy week this week. Got 2 shows on here, 5 at Radio Jackie, 1 on another radio station, 1 pre-recorded one on another radio station, 2 comedy gigs, and a disco gig.
And a disco gig?
Or a DJ gig, I should say.
No, I like disco. I'm thinking disco gig is this is good. All right, okay.
Camera. Hold on.
What is it? Hang on. That looks. Oh, that's way better, man.
Yeah, my camera needed
a wipe. What the hell was on your lens?
We're not past the 9 o'clock watershed, so I won't give that the answer.
No, we're not. It's always past 9 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, true.
When my dad went to the drinks cabinet to get a brandy, right, he'd always go, "Well, son, it's 5 o'clock somewhere in the world."
I know. Excuses, schmooses. So I'm just wondering, by the way, on the Wednesday show, I don't have a guest yet. So I'm wondering if, hello, Linda, if we'd like to do another big Wednesday quiz.
Well, Wednesday quiz would be what have I done? Oh, my God, what have I done here? I don't want that at all. Hang on. There we go. And then what happened? Right. Should we try? Wednesday quiz would be good. Let's say hello to Linda. Has she gone? There she is.
Hello, Linda Dave.
No relation to Phil Dave, except she's his mother. Right, let's try again with the great Dr. Ritz. That is way better.
Yes? Are we back?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
Dr.
great.
Ritz, we can't get enough of you. We just keep having to have you back on the show because you're so cool.
Easy,
Thank
fella.
you. I love
Easy,
being.
fella.
Sorry
That's
about
almost
that.
harassment.
I've moved house
Oh yeah.
Right.
and getting to grips with everything.
Have you moved
Right.
far?
Well, I've actually moved in with family whilst we are in that in-between phase.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know that feeling. It's
But I'm
it's
here
good.
and it's working. Hello.
But this is great. Now this is working perfectly. It's lovely.
Are we
can
likely
hear
to
you, we
get
can
renegade
see
family members in the background coming to give
Oh,
us
I
a
hope
cheeky
so.
wave?
We were just about to, and I was like,
you. No. We want to
We
see
don't
the
mind.
No,
We
get
don't
the
mind. They're all
family
very
in.
welcome.
No, they're very more
We've
the
had family
merrier.
members. We've had pets on the show. It's all very good.
If my little mini schnauzer could be bothered, I'd bring her in, but she can't be bothered.
do you want my 2-year-old?
Yeah,
Go on then.
sure.
Well, do you
Go
know what he
on.
said to me the other day? Right, my eldest came into the bedroom.
Right.
We were having a snuggle, and I said, "Oh, go and see if anyone will make me a cup of tea and bring it upstairs," because he's the oldest. Of course I will.
Right.
Of course, man. I love you, mummy. 10 minutes went by. No cup of tea came, so I went down the stairs, popped my head down. Is anyone going to bring me a cup of tea? And my 2-year-old went, "Make it yourself, mummy."
Wow. And
I
what
think you
is
quite like him on the show.
is that a little boy or a little girl? Must be a little,
Little boy.
He will
Yeah,
go
that's
far,
really
Dr. Ritz. He will go far.
that is
After
it.
he stopped being grounded for the next 30 years, he will go far.
And how old's the oldest?
5.
5
Aw.
and 2. Good
Yeah.
luck.
Thank you.
Good
So
luck.
you have quite a busy life as well, Dr. Ritz, I'm guessing.
What do you
2
think? Of course
boys.
you do.
And I read recently some research that came out that
Oh, what?
mothers who have 2 boys age quicker.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's
Well, it
face it, you're
hasn't
only
happened to you,
17.
Dr. Ritz. It hasn't happened to you.
But the knees are going for sure.
Your knees
You
are
didn't
going.
have to tell us that. We can only see you from the top up. We can't see your knees. You didn't have to tell us that at all.
No, we no. As far, you could be in your pajamas. We wouldn't know. You got like a nice roll top sweater on. You could be in your pajamas. I'm not.
you.
I've been out. I've walked the dog. Well, dragged the dog more.
So how's the world of psychology treating
Yeah,
you,
what's
Dr.
going on?
Ritz? And what's the latest scoop in the psychological world?
So what's been going on? I've been doing quite a lot of talks recently I did a few talks actually over the last 2 weeks to do with self-confidence. A lot to do with self-confidence, stepping into your own, stepping into power. And that confidence really is about, I think people get confused that, people that are confident, they don't feel fear. They're just so okay with themselves all the time.
No.
Whereas actually I've been really educating, doing a lot of workshops and providing, a psychological education. That confidence is about feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
So
Whatever
said
Feel
that
the fear and
as
do
the famous
it anyway.
as the famous self-help book once said, Susan Jeffers. Do you remember that book?
No.
Oh, if you can give it a Google, it was quite a famous one on the self-help circuit quite a while ago now, 90s. It was called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And that was the whole message of it, like you've just beautifully articulated. Yeah, it was confident people do still have the full range of human emotions. But I think also I would add to that is they allow themselves to feel it. They don't make the mistake of, I shouldn't feel this. If I was that, I wouldn't feel that. No, not at all. They've either learned some tools to process it, or they forge forward, feel the fear and do it anyway, or they got some tools to make themselves feel better and then do it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They do, but they allow themselves their full emotional range, as a healthy person should.
Dr. Ritz, let me ask you this, because I try and push it as far as I can in my own life. There's 2 types of nerves, aren't there? Good nerves and bad. If you don't feel nerves, there's something wrong with you. By the way, I think we should agree on that. There's good nerves and bad nerves. Bad nerves is if you're going to do something, you were saying that just a moment ago, you're doing a lot of talks and public speaking. I obviously doing a lot of ceremonies at the moment, a lot of services. I've got a massive gala coming up tomorrow night, which I'm hosting. I'm over in Dulwich. Stuff like that. Bad
love the way you
nerves.
say massive gala and then
Bad nerves.
just minor things like that.
No, my picture's disappeared. I don't know what the hell's going on. Hang on, give me a minute. There we are. Right, no, it's a full sit-down dinner in the Great Hall at Dulwich College. Is sold out, 220 guests. Big gala fundraising thing. You don't need to know. The point I'm trying to make is this. I was asked if I would do it, of course.
Good nerves and bad nerves.
Bad nerves is if you know you haven't prepared. Bad nerves if you think you're going to wing it. Bad nerves if you think you're going into whatever situation it is and you think, I haven't researched, I haven't rehearsed, I haven't prepared, I'm very sketchy on this. You're going to be nervous. Good nerves is, I've done the best that I can. I'm as ready as I can be, but I'm kind of nervous, but I'm kind of excited at the same time. It's that mixture. And that's the difference between, I think, a professional and amateur in any walk of life.
When I did my very first stand-up comedy set, and indeed my first show on Capitol, I was terrified.
Yeah.
However, I always describe it when people have got something like this coming up. See what you think of this, Dr. Ritz. If someone says, "Oh, I feel got this coming up, I'm a bit nervous," and I say to them, "Well, imagine a roller coaster, and it's going up and up and up, and the anticipation's building, and then it just goes that first peak, but the momentum hasn't got there yet, and then boom, you're thrown straight in, and it's 10 seconds of absolute terror." But after that 10 seconds, that terror turns to complete excitement for me. And then by the time, to continue the metaphor, the roller coaster gets back into it's done the circuit, I'm like, I want to do that again.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about there is action first, confidence second. So the confidence comes later. You know, you went up, you were feeling nervous, you stood at the peak for the 5 seconds before the drop, and it was like, I don't think I'm ready to do this. So for example, if you're on the stage or whatever it might be, you know, doing for your work, you could say, right, I'm just about to get on the stage. I can either run, you know, I can either fly away, I can just freeze, and then they're going to be like, okay, we're just going to have to get somebody else, or, you know, the compere will just have to take over. Or you can, you know, fight in a way, fight your way through it. It doesn't have to necessarily be a fight, but it's recognizing it takes action. So that action is the bit, that's the behavior that's getting you through it. And it's holding that emotion, saying, yeah, the nerves are normal. I'm about to go on this roller coaster, the nerves are normal. I'm out there, I'm at the top, I'm about to fall down. Oh, wasn't that so fun? The confidence comes later. Yes, let's queue up and do it again.
Yeah, and I would and have when it comes to roller coasters, because I love them. I would go on roller coaster holidays to this day.
I can't do roller coasters. Terrifying.
Now, here's an interesting one. I know some people that are really confident, and I think you've got no reason to be that confident. You're only as good as you think you are. You know what I mean? We could call that arrogance. And I know, conversely, I know some people who are brilliant at what they do. I'm thinking of a particular comedian who I worked with recently, a wonderful, relatively new but doing incredibly well person. And she said, "Oh, I'm really nervous." And she was headlining, and I can understand that. That's like good nerves that Russ has talked about. You know, she's all prepared and all that. She's very, very professional. And I'm thinking, but you've got no need to be. You're so good. You don't need to be nervous. So a question I'm posing to you is, what about for people like that who really are a lot better than they think they are and have really no reason to be this down on themselves? What would you suggest there?
To me, that sounds like imposter syndrome, which I think most people feel. And I think that's absolutely normal. I think we need to stop seeing as imposter syndrome as something that's negative, and actually it means that you care. It means that you genuinely care about.
I got to say, Dr. Ritz, every time you've been on, I always agree with you. Can I ask you just to drop your camera a little bit so we can see more of you? Would you mind?
Is that better?
Oh, that's infinitely better. That's smashing.
Much better. Thank you, Doctor.
I got to say, now you're the consultant counselling psychologist. I'm not. I disagree with you on this, and I'll explain why. I think imposter syndrome, and which everyone, even the most famous people that I know, absolutely, and I use the word advisedly, suffer from it. I think it's debilitating. I think it's very negative, and I think it beats us up. Neil often talks about, this little voice, which I have, and everybody else goes, what the hell do you think you do?
The inner critic, so to speak.
What do you think? Yeah, the inner critic, who's mostly an arse. and say, why do you think
Not
you
mostly. Never got
Isn't.
anything good to say.
No, nothing. It's a horrible negative thing. I'd like to return to that because for others it's entertainment. For me, it's a free therapy session. But Dr. Ritz, my point is this: the imposter syndrome. I mean, like one of my best friends is a hugely successful film producer, hugely successful. We talk about this. You know, he's had hit after hit, massive Hollywood blockbusters, right? And he's expecting, like I am, the tap on the shoulder. What do you think you're doing? Why do you think you can do this? So that's why I don't think good nerves, bad nerves I get, but imposter syndrome. I mean, look what's happening. I don't know if you're following it. I mean, I'm not a fan of his. Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber is in meltdown at the moment, and he put out a thing. He says, "I feel like a total imposter. I don't think that I've earned any of this. I don't think I'm worthy." These are like Neil's words. I don't think I'm worthy. This is what attacks us. You know, I'm an imposter.
But every human being is inherently worthy. And when we grow and become more of ourselves, that comes as part of the realization. It's a journey to realizing you were already what you wanted to be. It's one of those sort of paradoxy things, in my opinion. Jump in at any time here, Dr. Ritz. I agree with both of you, actually. I'm not sitting on the fence. I love the way you framed it. Means you care, and that's a really positive way and a non-resistant way of looking at imposter syndrome. But I'm wondering if there's any strategies to overcome it.
Good question.
Yeah, and I think that's
I love your positive frame on it, though.
I guess that's why I'm saying I want it to be normalized, because when people say, "Oh, I struggle with imposter syndrome," I think they find that quite almost like a dirty word, and they feel quite alone with it. Like, look at everybody else. Like, look at Neil and Russ on the Midday show talking live. They don't have imposter syndrome. How can they put themselves on like a live platform? They can't feel unconfident or nervous. And so I guess I'm just trying to normalize what imposter syndrome is often, you know, we can get to these places in our lives where we're feeling a bit either confident in what we're doing, or it comes very naturally and we're pushing ourselves to the next level. Or we're maybe reflecting back on life and all the things that we've achieved. And you know, rather than necessarily the voice going, "Well done, you're good enough, you deserved that, you worked hard for that," what happens is, as you said, Neil, like, you know, your producer friend, you didn't work hard enough for that, you didn't deserve that.
Or the voice might say, "You should do better."
Yes, absolutely.
You should do better. You didn't do your best. Nothing you ever do is good enough. And
it's never good enough.
There is a voice that I would call the bully. So this is how I often refer to them in something that I do schema work.
Yeah, it is a bully.
Yes, and we all have different voices in our heads because we all have different ages that we've grown up in. So if you were to come to my therapy room, what I'd be doing here is I'd be saying, "Oh, Neil, oh, Russ, that's really interesting. Who I'm hearing from right now is the bully. Can you tell me who's that voice that might remind you of?" And that might come very naturally, it might not. So we might unpick it further. Then what I would be doing is I would be looking at, now, what age did you first hear that voice? And then something I love to do is I love to get different chairs in the therapy room. I think once I even had something like 4 chairs. And so we have different chairs of the different ages of your different life.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh my God.
Using the spatial, perceptual, I think when I studied NLP, they would call that perceptual positions.
Yes.
And you can see it from
I'd call it 4 chairs.
And you call it
bloody clever.
And you see it but seeing it from all the different points of view gives you some, at the very least, I would wager, some space around it. You think, oh, there is more than one point of view here.
Exactly.
And then it's really empowering where you choose the point of view that serves you, that's still true and believable.
But sometimes people don't have that grown-up point of view yet because they're stuck between the childhood and the bully. So what it takes is sometimes as the psychologist to step in, and sometimes what I do, I use something called the remote control. So I'll just use my phone and I'll be like, "Pause, I'm going to pause the bully now. The bully is not allowed to talk." And I'll come in and I'll use my big voice and go, "No, thank you. Do not speak to them like that." And then I will give them the good adult voice that they have probably never heard in their life. And I tell them, "You can keep using my voice until your adult self is able to say that to you. Sometimes that can take weeks. That adult chair can be empty until they feel ready to step into that chair and give their child within them what they probably always needed to hear.
And when they do that physical spatial move of stepping into that chair, do they actually literally do that when they've got the adult voice? And it's quite symbolic, almost ritualistic in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I'll have a session sometimes where they're flitting between chairs, or they're in the adult chair, and then I hear the younger part of them come in. I'll be like, I think that's little whatever, like Russ or little Neil, and they'll say, oh yes, you're right. So they'll quickly go back to the other chair.
I saw a wonderful bit of inner child work, which is, I think, what you're talking about. Am I right?
Yeah.
Done.
What did you say, Neil? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I missed that. What do you call it? What work? Inner child work.
Inner child work.
Okay.
Done. It was a different technique to that, but yours is equally as brilliant. And this one, the adult sort of floated back in time, down the timeline, if you like, and reassured the scared child, but then brought the scared child, who's now not scared anymore, back into present time with the adult. And the word that springs to mind is integration. It didn't reject the child, but it didn't let the child run the show either.
Yeah.
I saw this brilliant meme, and I said it to someone, and they completely misunderstood me. They thought I was talking about putting children in boots of cars. They took it rather literally. But let me just put a disclaimer on. This is not what I mean by this. But no, bear with me, Russ. It's all right.
You haven't seen a Goodfellas, for God's sake.
No. It's got nothing to do with that Joe Pesci scene in Goodfellas. It said feelings are like children. You wouldn't want them to drive the car, but you don't put them in the boot either. In other words, acknowledge, embrace, integrate. Don't try and
that inner critic. I want to explore that if I can. I love that meme is a dangerous one. I can really understand how your whoever you sent it to misunderstood.
If you catch the metaphor,
I do. It's a bit nuanced.
Disclaimer: it does not mean putting children in the boot of a car.
Yeah, I guess another way to say that, you're basically saying, we have maybe grown up in a society where we've been told to not feel our feelings. Yeah. And so it's like me saying to you, Russ and Neil, do not think of a pink elephant right now. Absolutely don't think of it. Don't think of it. Stop thinking of the pink elephant.
I'm not thinking about it now.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about?
Exactly.
Cigar.
Because the unconscious can't process it.
I'm actually thinking of a Partagas G4 cigar. But there we are. That's just me. I want to explore this whole thing because Neil and I talk about this quite a bit when we're not arsing around. And he looks at it from a sort of intellectual, well-read perspective. And I just look at it as me, right? And the thing is this. It's very, this inner critic, this voice, beautifully said by you, Dr. Ritz, of it's a bully. And it is. And, you have to learn, and that's one of the things I'd like to explore, how to deal with it. For example, Neil does stand-up, I do stand-up as well. We do different forms. I do very long form. Mine's like a 1.5 hour show with an interval. There's nobody else.
Very good it is too.
You're very kind. Neil goes up and absolutely slays it for like 10 minutes. And I can't do his type of material because I couldn't get away with it. So it's a very different type of approach. But so if you've got a sold out house and a theatre, thank God, and you're standing in the wings and there's no one else to blame, because if it goes wrong, it's on you. It's not like being in a play or a musical. You can't blame the director, the writer. You've written it. There's no producer. There's no... It's just you, right? So if it goes wrong, everyone blames you, obviously. So you need to be fully confident. And it takes months to write a show, right? And get it into your head. And it's very lonely doing it. And you're standing in the wings, and suddenly my father will come into my head. The worst possible time. What the hell do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing? And I actually have to say, Dad, piss off. I'm busy. I say it out loud. I love my dad. I mean, he's been dead for many, many, many years. But it's so waiting. That bear trap is so waiting to attack you at the most inopportune moment. Literally, you've got a theatre that's sold out. It might be one of 2 shows you're doing that night. Okay, you got to be in tip-top form, and at that very second, when you're in the wings, when you're psyched up, that's when you don't want to hear that voice. And I've had to learn my own techniques of saying, just piss off. I'm really busy. Not now. And go and do it.
The creator of NLP, Dr. Richard Bandler, he had he's quite robust in his language, shall we say. There's a lot of ladies I know that think he's uncouth. Some people see him as uncouth and some people see him as a genius, and he's possibly both. No, not possibly, he is. He has the STFU technique, which is shut up. Anything to silence that voice. Another way of doing it is saying, thank you for sharing, but I'm busy right now.
Kind of occupied at the moment.
Another way of doing it, and I showed you this one, Russ. This is an NLP technique. It's taking that voice and putting your thumb out like that.
Yeah,
and
I do that.
You're making the voice a little person, and they're very, very small. They're about 4 millimeters high on the end of your thumb, and they're saying what they're saying, but in a really squeaky voice that you can't take seriously. And literally, that gets it out of your head. And you look at it, and you're looking at it from the observer position, and thinking, actually, you're nothing. I'm massive compared to you. You know, just thoughts.
No,
yeah, absolutely.
That's worked for me,
and I think what I'm loving about what both of you are saying there is the self-reflectiveness of it. So,
go on.
I think sometimes as humans, we maybe strive for being these ready-made products or these perfect products who are not going to be triggered, who, because I've done this, stand up so many times, why is that voice coming into my head? That shouldn't need to come into my head. I've done this loads of times. But I think it's about recognizing, actually, we're all fallible human beings. We're going to be triggered. We're never going to get rid of our triggers. But if we can have the awareness, like you do, Russ, to say, well, actually, before a big show, it's very likely because of my nerves, that can take me to a younger part of myself where I maybe didn't feel, confident in just
a more vulnerable
moment. Yeah, a more vulnerable part. And so who ends up following that is my father. And so it's not about getting rid of that, I would say. It's not about saying, right, my aim here is to go and do a comedy show where my father doesn't come into my head beforehand. It's actually, my aim here is that he's going to turn up. But I'm a grown adult now, and I've got some wonderful techniques that I've come up with, that Neil's taught me, that I'm learning along the way, that is going to help me manage that. And hopefully that's going to help me do a good enough job. But also, if I mess up, if the voice becomes too loud, it's okay, because I am human and I am still good enough. I am still lovable. I am still worthwhile. I think it's just that.
You see, I can't buy. It's really interesting. You had me all the way, but I can't buy that last bit. If Neil and I are doing what else we do in our professional life.
So wait a minute, Russ. Are you saying
no? Let me make my point.
All right. Sorry.
Right. If Neil's about to go and do a DJ set, or Neil's about to do stand up, or whatever, or I'm going to go and do a big memorial service, or a big funeral, or a wedding service, or a comedy show. It doesn't matter. Whatever we're going to do, we can't screw up. We can't say, "Oh, that it's okay. I'm only human."
But are you saying, Russ? Okay, and this is the cruel world of showbiz that we're in, and where Dr. Rich probably treats a lot of people like us. But the world of therapy has a different set of rules. The world of well-being has a different set of rules to that. The rules of the showbiz world, we've all been brought up on it. You know what I mean? I remember at Capitol, you felt like you could lose your show tomorrow when someone younger, fitter, better looking, came in.
But you're only as good as your last. You're only as good as your last show. You're only as
and
good
it's
as
sayings like that that are really unhelpful, because that is not true. Because what you're saying is, if you make a human mistake, that reflects on your wiped out, and that reflects on everything you've ever done as a human being.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
One mistake. Come on.
No. I'm not saying that.
Liz said you're lovable, Russ. I love that.
You didn't see I transferred 20 quid to her just when you were just talking.
But
Thank you, Liz.
Russ, you see what you did there? You did the
What did I
Teflon.
do?
You did
What
the
did I
Teflon.
do? Oh, yeah, but
Teflon.
that's true. Yes, I don't take compliments at all.
Yes.
I never take compliments. I can't do that.
When I saw your stand-up,
the point I'm making,
Russ, can you just let that land on your big toe? That's all.
Don't understand that.
So
let
you're
me
saying
let me
it
explain. Let me explain what I'm trying to say. Let me explain.
No,
because
let her do this, Russ. Let
No,
Dr. Ritz do this.
Let me
no.
finish this last bit.
All right,
This last
go on.
So you
Alright.
said I don't take compliments because often we think of taking compliments into our heart and holding it there. And so when people struggle to take compliments, I say, right, well, rather than making it a big thing where I have to take it right in, I just say, just let it land on your little toe like a little butterfly has just come and landed on your big toe. So I'm just wondering, with what Liz has said, can it just land on your big toe?
I see what you're saying. Okay, well, I could try that. I could change a lifetime's habit. You never know. It's point I'm trying to make is this. Okay, let's take it away from showbiz and let's take it to being a celebrant, which I do. I didn't think I'd do this much, but there you go. That's how the dice have rolled. I can't do a bad job. I can't now. If I did a bad job on a particular, let's say, funeral service, okay, would it negate? I'm answering Neil's point. It would not negate all the other God knows how many services I've done that people were really very happy and gave me 5-star reviews, blah, blah, blah. Of course not. I'm not that stupid. I understand that. But for that hour, 45 minutes, whatever it might be, I cannot fail. And because you have a whole chapel full of hundreds of people, they're there to pay their respects to someone they knew, they loved, they were related to or worked with or were friends. You can't screw up. That's the point I'm making. If I did, no, it wouldn't negate everything else, but I would feel shocking and very unprofessional if I had messed up. So that's kind of more serious than if I messed up doing a stand-up show and a joke died on its ass, and then
But
you're
as long as you
professional,
do
you
your
regroup
best,
and you get.
you've done your due diligence and you've done your preparation.
Yeah, of course.
You're basically asking yourself to be a perfect and complete and not evolve anymore human being for that 1 hour. You're essentially asking
pretty much.
yourself the impossible.
That's what I'm getting paid for. That's my job.
Well, yes, and you do it very well. But
I disagree.
all the same, is it worth? You're probably feeling a bit, even talking about it. Is it worth that level of anxiety?
Oh, I don't know. I
Because
can't explain. Look, I'm perfectly aware I put way too much into it. I put way too much into it. I know I do. I know.
Because
but that's why I'm getting all the work, because they know that they're going to get a bang up job.
Yeah, but I even wonder, here there just might be a bit of a what's the word I want to use? It'll come to me. Perception of what you think is failure and what someone else sees as a failure. So you might be being really hard on yourself, saying, I cannot fail, I cannot mess up in any way. And actually, even if you did, I wonder if it would have even been noticed.
Oh, look, don't forget, I train this as well. I train this. I'm going down to Brighton next week to train some future celebrants. And that's the one thing, of course, I'm going to say is you think if you make a slight error, the world collapses. They won't know. If you're smart, if you know what you're doing, they won't even see it.
So do you think you could possibly take your own advice here?
No, of course I can't.
Or if you do,
because Dr. Ritz, we set various standards for ourselves. Okay.
Do you know what they're called?
I don't know what they're called. What are they called?
Unrelenting high standards.
Yes.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
It is.
You're like the typical teenage girl that wants to look like the 10 out of 10 model on Instagram, which is completely unreasonable, completely fake. And yet she sets herself these high standards that she can never keep up with. And then she feels bad about herself and feels like she's not enough. Am I right?
Yeah.
But I just wonder, for people that do, because I just want to take it away from Russ as well. I think a lot of people with unrelenting high standards.
God.
I think a lot of people suffer with them. I do as well. And I think if you can understand them as schemas, and what schemas are, imagine like in your back pocket, in your jean pocket, you've got a pair of like 4 pairs of glasses. Unrelenting high standards is one of them. So you can get triggered to, for example, let's say I'm doing an event. And so the glasses come on, unrelenting high standards. And it's being aware I've put on the unrelenting high standards glasses, but I have the power and the choice to take them off and choose another pair of glasses.
And what would you call them? Serious question. What would you call
Good
those
enough.
glasses?
Good enough glasses.
Good enough. And I will say this: if you relax, and also I want to raise a point about parasympathetic nervous system and relaxing here. If you relax and are at ease, you will go into flow state. And if you go into flow state, you'll never worry about your performance again. Because performance
no.
is
Don't
rocket
misunderstand.
in
What
flow
you
state.
know,
But you
we
can't
both do
access flow when you're in the other one, sympathetic.
no, I
It's one or the
totally.
other.
And you know, and I know that. But once we both start, we're there. We're in that flow state. We're in the zone instantly. Of course, we are. That's what we do. But I struggle, and I do take on board what you're saying. But for me, the phrase "it's good enough." You see, that's how I'd say it. Yeah, it's good enough. Not like it's good enough. That's how you should be. I understand intellectually. That's how you should be saying. But I say, yeah, it's good enough. Which means that'll do, and that's never good enough. That'll do isn't enough for me.
But that's your schema. That's your unrelenting high standards. To
Yeah.
you, I'm good enough. You, it's just good enough.
Yeah, that's right.
You wanted the A, but you're giving yourself a B instead.
Yeah.
I think what's happening there is, so good enough has quite a negative connotation to it. And so sometimes we need to dismantle our thinking about certain words and phrases to bring them to light and look at them from a more clearer picture. So I wonder if this might be helpful to understand is a psychologist, he coined the term the good enough mother. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, somebody called David Winnicott. And he basically said that parents, caregivers, mothers, and often don't forget we're caregivers to ourselves here as well, right? So we're mastering the art of our own relationship to ourselves. We do not need to be perfectionists, because when we are perfectionists, we're actually totally missing the mark. We just need to become sensitive. The good enough mother is somebody who is sensitive, who is attuned, and who is responsive. So it's like building this relationship and is responsive to the needs of the baby yourself.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
And so I wonder if you start to see good enough in that way. It's somebody who is not this finished product, who's not perfect, but good enough is someone who is sensitive, who is self-reflective and responsive, which it sounds like you are actually, Russ. And it sounds like most people that have unrelenting high standards, they are that, but they just haven't joined that connection up yet, that I can be good enough, and good enough means all these other things.
It's interesting. If you put it into another context, I really want to take it away from me, please.
Yes.
If there was a new restaurant in town, everyone's going, gotta go to this new, it's meant to be fantastic. You're looking forward to it. You get a table for some weeks ahead, and you said to me, "Hey, Russ, it's Ritz. Hi, how was the restaurant?" I said, "It was good enough." That would not excite you and go, "Wow, that sounds great. I'm going to try it." It's good enough.
Yeah.
It's a restaurant. The seats were comfy. The food was nice.
Yeah, but
it's
all in the meaning of
buying,
the word.
It's not selling it to me.
And the tone of voice you're using, good enough. It was average, mediocre. That's the tone of voice you're using.
Yeah.
But when you say I am good enough, that's different. It's not I'm good enough. I'm good enough. Different meanings, different voice tone.
I'd love to absolutely taking this on board.
Have you tried saying it to yourself in that voice rather than that voice?
No.
Because how we talk to ourselves is our relationship with ourselves. Sorry, you're right in the spotlight. We should take it off you.
Yeah, thanks. Except for tomorrow. Hey, Dr. Riz, let me pass this by you. Neil's going to go mad now. All right, so tomorrow is this. I went to another event, and some people said, "Oh, somebody wants to speak to you." I went over there, and some people I haven't seen in like a million years. We got this big gala. We'd love you to host it. Blah blah. I was like, I'm doing it. All right, because the person who passed away many years ago was a special teacher to me at school. Okay, and it means he was very influential for me and for my writing, etc. Now, it will be taking place in the Great Hall of Dulwich College, a place that was incredibly meaningful to me. And I know that I'll be there as Russ Kane, hosting the evening, keeping it together, and funny enough, an email just popped up a second ago, and keeping the whole thing on time and on track. And the other part of me would be like 9-10 years old, surrounded in this great hall, this incredible Gothic structure, and the memories will come flooding back. It's not just me. Last week, I went back there. I'm back there quite often, into the Great Hall, to see my old school chum, Phil Manzanera, who was the guitarist with Roxy Music, and now one of the most sought after guitarists and rock producers in the world, in conversation. And everyone's waiting for him. It was a wonderful crowd. And he was there with another school friend of ours called Bill McCormack, who was in a brilliant band called Matching Mole. And instantly, both of these guys think he's one of the biggest rock stars in the world. Phil, who I've known since I was 10 or something. Produces Bob Dylan, stuff like that, right? Plays with him. And they were transformed back straight away. The moment they started talking, they were transformed back to being the schoolboys when we played together in the Summer Macellan. It was extraordinary. And I sat there thinking, it's not just me.
No,
It's
because
not just me.
there's something happening there on a biological level. You know, the
Yeah.
memories that we have encountered throughout our lives, they get stored in a cellular level in our body. And so when we're transported back to these physical places, we are mentally, psychologically transported back to those places. We feel it. I bet you felt it in your body.
Oh, you feel it. I feel it with every stone, every part of the wall. Yeah, absolutely feel it.
Your body is held onto that sensory experience using your
Yeah.
5 senses during that time, that age, that 9-10-year-old. And
Yeah.
so it's going to come out again when you're in that familiar surrounding, experiencing those 5 senses as an adult. It's going to transport you all the way back.
And that's
It's
not
so
always a bad
strong.
thing.
It's so strong, Dr. Ritz. I can smell the
Mm.
room. It's a huge, beautiful Gothic hall, right? I call it Gothic. I can smell it right now as I'm talking to you. I can smell as I walk up the stone steps.
In an
It's
LP,
amazing,
that's
isn't it?
called, in an LP, it's called an anchor, basically.
An anchor.
An
Okay.
anchor, a trigger, if you like. There is an NLP process for collapsing anchors. I've seen that done, where something could trigger something, but then not trigger it anymore. There's also anchors aren't always negative. You can say, remember a time when you did really, really well. You can think back to that. Think back to when you were given the performance of a lifetime. Put yourself in that state, and then approach the day from there. You've got access to all the memories, not just the.
Oh yeah.
Not just the
Not
ones that
understanding
disembodied.
Kimmy's comment. I think she's a bit pissed off. I don't know why. She's been on holiday for 8 years. Okay, but did Dr. Ritika come on the program to talk about? But we'll never know. No.
Kimmy, what would you like me to talk about?
She came on.
Yeah,
to
come on,
talk to
Kimmy.
us.
Have you got a question for me, Kimmy?
Ladies and gentlemen, Kimmy Lashmar. We'll wait and see. It's very interesting. That thing about cellular level, I'd never appreciated. That's so interesting. Wow.
We store things in our body. The body keeps score of everything. There's a fantastic book written about it as well, by somebody called Basil. I can't remember his surname. But if you Google the name of the book, it's a very, very famous book.
Doesn't Gabor Mate do a lot of work in this field as well?
He does a lot of work in that as well. Yeah. Yeah. Kimmy, what would you like me to talk about?
The answer to your question
Everything and anything
is that no, Dr. Ritz didn't come on with a specific agenda. But both Neil and I felt that she was such a smash last time, and then we've been
And the time before.
We've been emailing, and she's a most welcome guest to talk about anything she likes. So there wasn't like I've come to talk about congestion charge, or I've come to talk about my new book. No, there was no fixed agenda about it.
Well, if you have a question, Kimmy, we'd be delighted to hear it.
Absolutely, anybody. Absolutely. That's the whole point of the show. That you are the stars. Jeremy Beadle used to say, but it's true. It's very, very interesting. I'm loving the idea of the chairs, the moving the chairs, sitting in the different to the different voices. I love the fact you've identified that inner critic, as Neil calls it, as a bully. That's a terrific way of thinking about it. That's a game changer. That's a game
Well,
changer.
I think when you can identify what that bully is saying, you know, one of the best techniques I think everybody should have in their back pocket is, would I speak to a loved one in this way?
Yeah.
Would I speak to someone I care about, a child, a friend, a family member, a teacher, a stranger? Would I speak to them in this way? Even if I was really angry, would I really want to say this to somebody after I'd cooled down? The answer is probably not.
I'd have to be pretty angry to say something like that.
Because that is bullying. So then the next question I always ask my clients, my patients, if I'm delivering this in a workshop is, so why is it okay to speak to yourself that way? Why has that become normal to you?
Why?
Yeah. Why? Get curious about that and challenge it. You know, if I wouldn't talk to someone else that way, well, then what would you say if a friend was about to go on stage and said, I'm super nervous right now? What do you think they really need to hear?
Can I use the phrase Chris Tarrant would always say?
Go for it.
No, we don't want to give you that.
Look, every time Chris and I were due to go on stage at Hyde Park, there'd be 120,000 people. It's not free. They've all paid top dollar ticket, right? And he and I are going to go on and introduce an act, or we're going to do something, or Phil, or whatever it's going to be, right? And we'd stand in the wings. There's 120,000 paying people, and he'd lean over to me.
Russ.
Yeah, it's in Hyde Park.
Yeah, I used to go to that as a child.
As a child.
Did you see were you there the year when the Dum Dums were on, and this really good-looking guy introduced the Dum Dums?
I can't remember, but
that was me.
Anyway,
see, that's
it's so weird. Well, I hope you enjoyed the shows. Anyway, he'd lean over to me and go, Russ boy, try not to make a complete bollocks of it. And that was the whole advice.
I would say something along the lines of,
it made me laugh so much.
Like that.
What would you say? What would you say, Neil?
Go smash it, badass. Or if it was a female that I had the level of banter rights with, go smash it, you badass bitch, or something like that, in the loveliest way.
But it made me. It just diffuses. It just made me laugh because it diffuses this ridiculous situation of going in front of 120,000 people, try not to make a bloody bollocks of it, and it just put us in a great mood instantly.
So I wonder, you see, Russ, I wonder if what Chris gave you there was connection. And so when we're so afraid and we're so nervous and we feel lost and that bully comes up, we're feeling so rejected. But when someone says something to us, you know, and sees us and can see, you know, how afraid we are and knows you, it's what was wonderful is that he knows you. So he knew that was going to work for you. And that connected you both. And you had a good old laugh and you went out there and you probably smashed it.
We did. We smashed it.
And as Neil said, you know, if that was somebody else, what he would say is he'd be connecting with them by saying, you know, go out there, you badass, or go out there, you badass bitch. Again, it's connection. And so that's the tool there. It's learning how to, when you're saying it to a good friend, you're connecting with them, you're seeing their vulnerability, you're seeing how they are rejecting themselves, and you want to scoop them up and hug them. And what Chris gave you there was that hug. What Neil is
ultimately self-rejection, isn't it? It's self-rejection taught to us by someone who probably had rejected themselves, because if they hadn't, they wouldn't have taught that to us.
And it was a coping mechanism, right? It's a coping mechanism that other person's used, that you've used. And so actually, as a child, how intelligent of you to have come up with that coping mechanism. But it's recognizing that now as an adult, does that coping mechanism actually work? Or is it putting a lot of pressure on you that could eventually lead to burnout? And what else can you do instead?
Perfectly stated.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting, isn't it?
Perfectly
but
stated.
Again, it's a fantastic thing of why people, not everybody does it, but why we still strive for that extra excitement and striving to think, I know this is really difficult to do, hard to master, but I'm going to do it. It's like, it's fascinating because I've got a lot of friends of the age that I am that have retired now. right? And I go, well, what the hell do you do all day? Well, I play golf, I play bridge. They look pretty relaxed to me. I've never been busier. It's bizarre. I have never, ever been busier. So I couldn't imagine retiring. I don't know what the hell I'd do.
Well, it sounds like whatever that you are doing, Russ, it gives you a sense of purpose, and that's what we need to live a fulfilling life, a sense of purpose.
But I'm going to ask you a very difficult question.
Go for it.
And I hope I can, because we've been talking for over a long period of time, for a few hours now. And it's this. And it comes back to good enough, or the way that we judge ourselves. When you're seeing a client who is really relying on you, that's why they're there. You're an incredibly important person in that person's life. And especially when you're interacting during, I don't know what they call a session, a consulting session, call it what you will. You have to give it 100%, because they are so reliant upon you. You can make them feel so much better, or if it went wrong, the alternative. When that client leaves, they say, thank you so much, Dr. Ritz, I'll see you next week, or whatever it is, okay? And you're sitting behind your desk or in your chair, do you reflect and think, yep, I gave that Mr. X, Miss X, whatever, the absolute best I could? Or did you think, you know what, during that time, just for maybe 10, 15 seconds, I was distracted. I was thinking about something else.
Yeah.
Is that a fair question?
That's a great question. I'm having so many thoughts. I might go off on different tangents. So there are definitely sessions where I walk out and I'm like, yes, pumped, because you've come through something together. You get those. There have been sessions where I have, for whatever reason, one really springs to mind. I remember when I had my clinic in Canary Wharf, pre-lockdown rather, and I think I was something, I can't remember what it was, but I was absolutely knackered, and I thought it would be a good idea to have a mac and cheese for lunch, which put me to sleep. And I could literally feel myself in the session. The client was talking, I was like, and the session ended. It wasn't a great session. And the following week, when this client came back, I owned it. And I said to them, last week, I thought I was awful. I thought I took ownership of it, because I didn't know what their experience was. I thought it was awful. I thought I didn't give you my 100% attention. I was tired before the session. I probably made the wrong choice by eating a load of carbs and cheese. And I think I even shut my eyes at one point during the session. So I just want to apologize for that. And I want to know, what was the session like for you? And the client was like, I didn't even notice. But what was fantastic, and this is the foundation of therapy, it's the relationship. So there is no therapy without a therapeutic relationship. And what 100%. I showed the client was that I could bring that to the relationship between us. We could just dissect it. We could talk about it, because what that client could have said was, yeah, I noticed. And you know what? I didn't even want to say anything because I didn't feel like I could. But thank you for bringing it up. And then I could have then asked them, so how did it make you feel? And then what that would have taught that client was, actually, I can go out into the world. And if something isn't going right for me, or if someone is maybe disrespecting me and falling asleep in front of me, I will name it. I will call it out, because this person has called it out. So whether the session goes right or wrong, to me, it actually doesn't matter, because what is the foundation of it is the relationship between us, and that whatever happens, we can talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, is it May? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
This man is a walking thesaurus.
Yeah, I never understand his questions. He's either a genius or raving mad, but I've known him long enough to say that.
Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The humanistic basis of counseling psychology. It comes from Carl Rogers, and it says that in order, it's one of the ways that I'm trained in. I'm trained in humanistic therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, psychodynamic psychotherapy. And in order to have a good relationship with a client in therapy, we believe in 3 conditions. And that's the conditions of growth. And that is having empathy, having unconditional positive regard, and having congruence, being authentic. So what I talked about there is the authenticity of it. That if I'm
Do you
tired,
expand a little bit on what you just said? Those 3 conditions.
So
I've not heard them. I've not heard them before.
Empathy is the feeling that you have towards the other person, the ability to be psychologically minded, to put yourself in their shoes. So you might not always understand it, but you can be curious then to understand it by having empathy, rather than being like, oh no, what you think is wrong. No, you shouldn't have felt like that. What are you talking about? You're nervous. You shouldn't be nervous. That's not having empathy. That's almost a little bit of gaslighting sometimes. You're not really connecting with how they're feeling. Then unconditional positive regard is, no matter what you tell me, you will not disappoint me. As long as you've not killed someone, you're not going to disappoint me.
Unconditional positive regard.
I'm going to be here with you. I'm going to sit next to you, and I'm going to be with you alongside this journey, so that when you feel the shame of whatever it is you might be telling me, I'm not judging you for that.
That's what my therapist was like. She was brilliant.
And then the final one, the congruence, that's being authentic in it. So when I am in my therapy room, I'm not pretending to be my supervisor that I learned off, or Gable Mate, or other people I look up to. I'm just me. I'm just Dr. Ritz. I'm just Rittiger. And so sometimes I'm going to give you some gold nuggets that you're like, wow. And that's great. And sometimes I might eat too much mac and cheese and I might fall asleep. But it's being congruent about that, to name it and to bring it up and to talk about it with each other. How was that for you? How did that land on you? And my clients are able to say to me, no, actually, that doesn't fit what you're saying. Great. Tell me why it doesn't fit. Then we have a conversation about, I'm not the expert. I'm never the expert on anyone's life. They are.
And it's about empowering them to become their own expert once they're strong enough to do so.
Yeah, I just help people to hold that mirror to their face and join up the dots.
But you see, you do you appreciate how important you would be to your patients?
Oh, 100%.
Because it's so interesting. It's very modest of you to say, you know, I'm not the expert. But the people coming to you are looking for precisely that.
Well, I'm an expert in psychology. I'm an expert in thinking, right? But I'm not an expert in your life. So just because I think it and say to you, you know, Russ, if you said to me, no, you got that wrong, I'm not going to be like, no, I haven't, Russ. I know better than you. How do I know better than you?
No, I see exactly what you're saying. But I would liken it to, like, my car went wrong last week, so I take it to my little garage. Tiny little local garage. He is the expert. I'm totally reliant on it. Now I'm using the car, you know, whatever. He's never using it, but he's the expert. I have to rely totally. So there's a sort of symmetry.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I'm an expert in being a psychologist. So, you know, an expert in psychology. I'm happy to own that. I feel like I've got enough training, enough experience. But also, to me, an expert also means I'm also growing and evolving and expanding. And sometimes I don't know the answer. You know, somebody asked me to do a talk a couple of weeks ago, and I said, actually, that's just not my speciality. I don't know enough about that. Yes. Turn down the paycheck, turn down the podium. I'm quite happy to do that. But what I guess I'm saying is, in somebody's own inner world, I'm not the expert.
That's fascinating. That is
that person to validate themselves, how they're thinking and feeling. That's the.
Sorry, what was that, Neil? Can you say that again?
What you're doing with the empathy, just to break it down, is you're helping that person validate themselves, and you're giving them permission to be human and to think what they are actually think and feel, what they're actually thinking and feeling, not what they think they should be. Because that's where I really fell down. I had this whole big bunch of really cruel shoulds of myself, and it didn't work. It simply didn't work. It just drove me to burnout. But had I been allowed to have those feelings, I could have given myself some space around it and then work more productively to find a workable solution rather than stressing about it all the time. So you're absolutely right. But you're absolutely right. And I think you know pretty quickly if you've got a good therapeutic relationship with someone. You can just tell.
Absolutely. And I always say to people, you know, before choosing a therapist, always have a good therapist will always give you like a free 10 to 20 minute over the phone consultation so you can get a vibe for them. They'll always be checking in as well then afterwards. How do you think it's going? And, you know, again, I take ownership of this. I have worked with some people where I knew I wasn't going to be able to build that relationship for whatever might have been going on. I think at one point, something very similar to what was going on for that person was happening in my own personal life with somebody I knew. So I was going to end up bringing my own, it was going to be hard for me to see the person for who they were. And I had to tell them, I don't think it's the right time for us to work together, but I can recommend some other people. And I was honest because something similar is going on in my personal life with somebody I know.
That can be summed up by something that Neil and I talk about a lot, the ability to say that wonderful word, no.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. Dr. Ritz, you are dazzlingly clever. We love having you on the show.
And come back again.
Oh, please do. Please do. Please do.
Oh my goodness, is that the time? Where did that go?
Well, what is amazing about you, and I'm not blowing smoke up your posterior, but I do mean it, that you, like great teachers, take complicated issues and you break them down into little bite-sized chunks and you make them very, very understandable. So even though you're taking us into a pretty rarefied area where we don't have expertise, neither Neil nor myself, but you take us on that journey with you, and that is a rare gift. That is a rare gift. And Philip says, I think we couldn't end on a nicer note. Lovely person, please come back. That's referring to you, Dr. Ritz, not to me and Neil. Neil will be back on Wednesday. I'll be back with the game.
Big midday show quiz. We had a very serious one last Wednesday, so we've got a very silly one this Wednesday.
Excellent. The quiz. I love those quizzes.
I'm just going to take a picture. Is that okay?
Oh, here we go. Of course. I'll try to look intellectual.
Hold on. There we go. Great. Thank you for having me. I love the conversation.
A pleasure. Come back and see us.
Thank you, Dr. Ritz. Lovely to see you on my screen again. I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye, gang.